Hello, good evening and welcome to Primetime News on TV1. I'm Nadim Majid.
And I'm Nicola D'Souza. These are your headlines.
Pours experienced in several parts of the island. Landslide warnings for the Ratnapura district. Bangladeshi police identify 8 Sri Lankans behind cyber heist of $101 million from the Bangladesh Central Bank. Government will secure IMF funding within a fortnight. Statement from Deputy Minister Dr. Harsha De Silva. Power failures in parts of Colombo. Fault in underground cable system blamed for breakdown. DV Uppal initiates legal action against Ranjan Ramanayaka.
අපාසයට අද දිනේ මම මිලියන 500ක් ඉල්ලලා රංජන් රාමනායක ඇමතිවරයාට නඩු කරනවා.
අපි උසාවියේ හම්බෙමු. කිසිම ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ.
President Maithripala Sirisena has ordered that measures be taken to curtail the illegal gold exporting racket. This order was issued during a discussion which took place at the Presidential Secretariat today. The Triforces and the police have revealed that gold purchased through auctions at private and state banks is being smuggled in large quantities through illegal channels. Following a lengthy discussion on the matter, the President ordered that steadfast and organized measures be taken to tackle this racket.
Landslide warnings have been issued for Ahaliagoda, Balangoda and Imbupe in the Ratnapura district. The Disaster Management Centre said the danger could intensify if these areas continue to receive rainfall in the next 24 hours.
The Met Department forecast today that many parts of the island would receive showers or thunder showers from 2 p.m. this afternoon. Rainfall in excess of 75 millimeters was predicted in some areas. The Met Department noted that in the event of thunder showers, gale force winds and lightning related accidents could occur. Several parts of Colombo experienced heavy showers this afternoon. The Hatton town and surrounding areas also experienced heavy rainfall for more than an hour, causing flooding in some parts of the town.
මේ දිනවල මේ අත්තර නිවත්තර අபிසාරේ කලපේ තියෙන්නේ ශ්‍රී ලංකාවට මදක් දකුණේ කියන ආසන්නව.
The intertropical convergence zone is located to the south of Sri Lanka at present. This leads to cloud formation, and we have seen increased cloud formation across Sri Lanka as a result. This is causing rainfall at present. We can expect the situation to prevail for another 1 or 2 days.
මේ වර්ෂා තත්ත්වයේ අපිට ලැබෙමින් පවතිනවා. ඉතින් මේ තත්ත්වයේ අපි තව දින එකක් හෝ දෙකක් අපිට බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්න පුළුවන්.
Meanwhile, the power supply to several parts of Colombo was disrupted today. The Ceylon Electricity Board noted that the power supply to the Colombo Fort area, Slave Island and Koipiti had been disrupted. The disruption has been attributed to a fault in the underground cable system which supplies power to Koipiti and Colombo Fort from the Kolonnawa grid substation.
Fifteen people were injured in a head-on collision involving 2 buses in Radhawadunna, Nitambua this evening.
Our correspondent in the area said that an SLTB bus bound from Colombo to Kandy and a private bus plying in the opposite direction had collided head-on. The injured were admitted to the Varakapula and Vatupitivala hospitals. 3 of the passengers were later transferred from the Varakapula hospital to the Kegol hospital. The police have arrested the driver of the SLTB bus.
Bangladeshi investigators have identified 20 foreigners, 12 Philippine nationals and 8 Sri Lankans suspected to have been involved in the cyber heist of $101 million from its central bank. International media reports indicate that the suspects appear to be those who received some of the payments and not the hackers themselves. Minister of Finance Ravi Karunanayake, speaking at a press briefing at the World Bank Spring Summit 2016 in Washington recently, stated that an investigation regarding the incident is underway.
Unknown hackers breached Bangladesh Bank systems between the 4th and 5th of February and tried to steal nearly $1 billion from its account at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. Many of the payments were blocked, but $20 million made its way to the Shalika Foundation account at a bank branch in Bambalapitiya before the transfer was reversed. Bangladesh Central Bank officers said they acted after a routing bank sought clarification on the transfer because hackers misspelled the company's name as Foundation. The Financial Intelligence Unit of the Central Bank had referred the investigation to the Criminal Investigations Department. Another $81 million was routed to accounts in the Philippines and diverted to casinos there. The hackers introduced malicious code known as malware into the Bangladesh Bank server, which allowed them to process and authorize the transactions with the New York Fed. After progress into the investigation was reported to court here in Sri Lanka, directors of the Shalika Foundation, namely Shalika Pereira, Mulin Ranasinghe, Pradeep Rohita, Shantanalaka, Sanjeeva Tissa Bandara and Shirani Dhammika Fernando were banned from overseas travel. Meanwhile, an individual known as W.M. Priyankara Jayadeva, an acquaintance of Shalika Pereira, who according to Pereira hoodwinked her into the transaction, has also been banned from overseas travel. However, the CID reported to court that Jayadeva could not be found at his place of residence. Shalika told Reuters she expected $20 million to come from the Japan International Cooperation Agency, or JICA, to help fund a power plant and other projects in Sri Lanka. She said she had no direct dealings with JICA, but the deal was arranged by the acquaintance who she met in Sri Lanka but had connections in Japan. JICA, a Japanese government agency that provides official development assistance, said it has no ties with Shalika Foundation, including through any intermediaries. The Bangladesh police have secured the support of Interpol in the investigation.
And as for the Bangladesh situation, as you know, we were the ones who ensured that it did not spark off to the rest of the world. So at this particular moment, we are basically looking at protecting Sri Lankan central bank authorities and other commercial bank activities. The Monetary Board, where my secretary was there, did discuss this matter, and certain steps have been taken to have protective measures.
Former Minister Vasudeva Nanayakkara says that he informed the president at the time, Mahinda Rajapaksa, that money was going out of the country as exposed by the Panama Papers. These views were expressed when Nanayakkara appeared on the Newsfirst in Focus program, which will be telecast after the news at 9:30 tonight on TV1.
2005 is when Mahinda Rajapaksa came into power, and when he ended his office was 2015. So crucially, they have coincided. This global integrity report and all these reports coming from international arena, I look at them with a certain amount of suspicion. However, I know that there is more money than this stashed away, because I was the one who raised with Mahinda Rajapaksa when I was minister that money is going out of this country. The value for the goods are not coming back to the country, so that money is lying outside the country. That this is a serious matter which makes us poorer in terms of foreign reserves. So why aren't we taking steps to get the last cent back to the country?
So you agree that there was corruption during the Mahinda Rajapaksa era?
I raised it, and he called up the Secretary to the Treasury, Jasundara, and Ajit Cabral, the governor of the central bank, and asked me to raise the issue with them. I did raise with them. And then their reply was that we are not in a controlled regime, that presently our finance is in an open regime with our current account convertible. Therefore, there is no legal obligation for a person who has money going out of the country to bring it back in full or in part, that it is entirely left to the person whether he will bring back the money or not.
You know, let me be very straight about this. I personally believe that nobody should take the position that this may or may not have happened. We have to investigate this. Almost all countries that profess good governance have begun investigations. So I hope the moment the governor steps foot back at the central bank from Washington, he will immediately instruct his officers to start this investigation in earnest. I expect the central bank to come out with a comprehensive report on this very soon.
On the Panama City, you would know that we have given the necessary authorities to investigate all areas where Sri Lankan companies have been involved which have not been disclosed. As you know, having a tax haven is not the problem, but non-disclosure is the problem. So we have been basically giving the authority all clear signals to get all information possible.
The Panama Papers have disclosed a lot of very sophisticated tax avoidance practices on a very broad scale. This needs to change, and the IMF will participate and cooperate with other international institutions to offer new mechanisms that will be out of the box, that will be based on transparency, simplicity and cooperation.
Southern Provincial Councillor D.V. Uppul filed a case against Deputy Minister Ranjan Ramanayake at the Colombo District Court today.
D.V. Uppul had filed a civil suit seeking damages amounting to 500 million rupees from Ranjan Ramanayake, claiming the Deputy Minister had defamed him at a media briefing held in February.
He accused me of using political power to obtain a loan of 76 billion and then defrauding that money. He said I was a fraudster and corrupt. I challenged him shortly afterwards. This is a baseless lie and I demanded that he withdraw the statement immediately. A letter of demand was sent to him. But since corrective steps were not taken, I filed a suit against Minister Ranjan Ramanayake seeking damages of 500 million for defaming me.
In truth, many people have sent such letters of demand in the recent past. Cases have been filed too, and these are dragging on. People who had nothing and stole the people's money to enter politics have become millionaires today, and this has been confirmed by the Panama Papers too. This is a good opportunity for me to prove the assets of these individuals in court. We shall meet in court. There is no problem. I made this statement because I was ready for these things. There is no problem.
The following views were expressed at a media briefing convened by the Voice Against Corruption movement.
We are faced with the question as to how the corrupt individuals in the previous government do not become corrupt when they come to this government. Close to 180 complaints have been handed over within a span of over a year. We do not see anything happening on the part of the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption. The FCID investigates complaints that are lodged at the Anti-Corruption Secretariat. We handed over a number of complaints ranging from the Tajuddin murder, the fraud at Lanka transformers, the highway robbery, the issue pertaining to the MIG deal and other large-scale financial fraud. This included the wealth amassed by MP Namal Rajapaksa, the details of the companies in Singapore and the details of money collected in accounts of private banks. So we were all hoping that the corrupt will be nabbed today or tomorrow. But this government seems to be postponing this.
Deputy Minister Dr. Harsha De Silva says the government is hoping to secure funds from the International Monetary Fund within a fortnight. A delegation including the Minister of Finance is currently in Washington to hold talks on this matter.
In today's IMF negotiations, IMF doesn't say do this or do that. It is governments who come up with plans that they believe can be implemented. And then based on that mid-term plan, they would seek support to implement it. And the IMF is a better bet than going into the commercial market to borrow, because IMF will give us the level of confidence that we require. I'm sure the Honorable Minister of Finance will finalize in Washington this week, because by and large, the Prime Minister has agreed upon pretty much everything there is to. It's just, I think, a matter of, crossing the T's and dotting the I's now that is left to do.
The 2016 spring meetings of the IMF and the World Bank Group, which commenced on the 10th of this month, concluded in Washington yesterday. Prior to this meeting, a staff team from the IMF led by Todd Schneider visited Colombo during the 31st of March to the 11th of April to hold discussions regarding the request. At the end of the visit, Schneider, making a statement, said that the authorities' proposed economic program aims to achieve high and sustained levels of inclusive economic growth, restore discipline to macroeconomic and financial policies, and rebuild fiscal and reserve buffers. In this context, the mission welcomed the Cabinet's decision to reduce the 2016 fiscal deficit to 5.4% of GDP and advised to move quickly on tax and expenditure policy decisions endorsed by the Cabinet. Other near-term steps suggested by the IMF staff team include a clear strategy to define and address outstanding obligations of state enterprises, start broadening the tax base by reducing tax exemptions, and introduction of a new Inland Revenue Act. The medium-term revenue effort is based on further reform of tax and expenditure policies supported by modernizing revenue administration and public financial management. The International Monetary Fund and World Bank grant plenty of loans, but it is conditional. But there are many countries today that are willing to lend money at lower interest rates or provide assistance without imposing such conditions. So instead of becoming dependent on one institution, we should think of the people. I respectfully request at this time that we deal with institutions and countries that are willing to lend at lower interest rates.
The discussions with the IMF, as you know, have been going on from the 31st of March. And they had the officers meeting coming to a conclusion. And we will be continuing discussions in Washington. As for the conditions, there's no conditions that is imposed. It's just that financial discipline is what is expected. And I'm sure it is something which, in any case, our new government has been embarking on. On the austerity measures, the discussions are still not at the end. And certainly they will look at some revisit of certain things.
Fisheries Minister Mahinda Amaravira says he expects a positive response in the coming days with regard to overturning the European Union fisheries import ban on Sri Lanka.
The European Union banned fish imports from Sri Lanka about a year ago, citing that the authorities had failed to address the use of illegal fishing methods. Prior to the ban, Sri Lanka was exporting fish worth €77 million per annum to European nations. Germany, France, Italy, the Netherlands and England were among the key markets for Sri Lankan fish exports. Our ministry commenced a major program to overturn the import ban imposed by Europe. The government, the President and the Prime Minister were committed to this, and we are seeing the results now. I wish to say that within the coming week, the fisheries communities in the country will hear some good news.
A media briefing was convened in Colombo today to respond to criticisms that have been levelled over the auspicious times that were announced for the Sinhala Tamil New Year.
The media briefing was presided over by Minister of Cultural Affairs S.B. Navinna and was attended by members of the committee responsible for preparing the auspicious times for the new year. The committee is about 30 years old, so we thought that since there are criticisms being levelled, we must address this without allowing a false opinion to take hold. The West has not been mentioned anywhere in astrology as an inauspicious direction. The West has been noted as the auspicious direction for the oil anointing on 24 occasions. So the West has never been considered an inauspicious direction, and this must be mentioned clearly. Piyasena Rathavithana and several henchmen of his criticized this at first. They are engaged in an attempt to dissolve this committee and to distort public opinion. I can say responsibly that the people who were mentioned came before the committee seeking the auspicious times we had decided on. Remember that skill in the science of astrology cannot be simply acquired. I wish to say clearly that if a person who was in the committee is now levelling these criticisms instead of coming before the committee, then I request the Honourable Minister to remove him from the committee. These are the same bunch that spoke of the Air Ashtaka during the 2015 presidential election. But you know what happened then.
UPFA General Secretary Minister Mahinda Amaravira met with the Appeals Committee on Delimitation today.
Minister Mahinda Amaravira met the chairman of the committee, Ashoka Piris, and inquired into the progress so far. Everyone, including the chairman of the committee, informed us that they will complete their tasks by the 31st of August. The next step is the task of tabling it to Parliament and gazetting it. So our intention is to go in for an election soon after these tasks are completed. No, we have received more than 7,000 applications so far. An extremely clean and new group of candidates who have not violated party discipline and are not involved in fraud and corruption. This does not, however, imply that we will remove those who already exist. We have decided to grant everyone the opportunity. If there is someone who has committed a mistake or a shortcoming, we have granted those persons to make an appeal and come back. Journalists also raised questions on the former president being invited for the May Day rally of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. We sent an invitation letter to him yesterday. We also hope to extend another invitation by meeting him in person. He is the first person we have invited. Well, he is the advisor of our party, isn't he? So it is our hope that he will attend this rally and get on to the same platform. Frontline activists of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party expressed views on the May Day rally at several events today. Do not attend any other May Day rally and fulfill the wishes of other parties, including the United National Party, to split this party into two. No SLFP activist has to be poked and forced to attend the May Day rally. Certain fractions have undertaken the task to split our party to fulfill the aspirations of the United National Party by holding secret meetings on secret conspiracies. So it will stop at some point. There has always been a party constitution and discipline. There was a particular way it functioned before. So the required measures will be taken accordingly. If the May Day rally is split into two, if the party is split into two, then it is those who sympathize the United National Party who are behind it. There is no way there could be enemies within the party. There can be only one enemy in terms of politics. If we are against the government and we are against the United National Party, then who should we rally for? We should rally for the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. Now look at yesterday's VAT issue. Some people are trying to imply that the president is under the directive of the Prime Minister. There is nothing of that sort. The president has a backbone to say from his hometown of Polonnaruwa that if this value-added tax causes a burden to the public of this country, it would be exempted. He also said that those who propose this tax would be sent home.
The case pertaining to the contamination of underground water sources in Chunakam, Jaffna was taken up today before the Malakam Magistrates Court. Northern Province Minister of Agriculture P. Aingaranesan also appeared in court today.
The court ordered that it was mandatory at the Northern Provincial Minister of Agriculture to appear before court today. A report compiled by the public health officers of Tellipalai and Malikamam will produce at the hearing today. PHI representing the Uduville, Tellipalai, Southwest Valikamam, West Valikamam and Northern Valikamam presented their reports to court today. Based on these reports, water needs to be provided continuously for consumption. The report says that this water is not yet suitable for consumption and requested that the court provide a solution to the issue. The case was adjourned until the 3rd of May.
Well, that's a wrap of your primetime news for tonight. Thank you for joining us. For the News First team, I am Nicola De Zoiza.
And I'm Nadim Majid. Just a reminder to our viewers that you can keep up to date with all of the stories we're following here on News First by visiting our website, Newsfirst.lk. You can also keep up to date on social media by liking facebook.com/newsfirst.english and following us on Twitter on the handle @newsfirst_en. You can also watch News First bulletins live across the globe by visiting the live stream link on newsfirst.lk. Good night and good luck.
Take care.